Hi everyone, it's Stacy with cpatbabes.com. I keep getting comments on my last video, which is really nice of you all to comment, and it seems like a lot of people are going through a very similar thing that I've been going through. And if I haven't responded, it's just because I suck at responding. It has nothing to do with you. Life is a lot for me, but life has gotten a lot better. I looked at that video and it said that it was 1 year ago, but then I looked, it's been almost 2 years. It was July 2022, which so much has happened since then. And my life is a lot better since then. And I'm just so happy and grateful that that has happened. So I'm trying to think like what's happened since then. So July 2022, I got my MRI in June of 2022. It showed a pituitary tumor or two. And then I did my follow-up with my endocrinologist, whose name is Dr. Friedman. He's the guy in the United States, like the only person who knows about cyclical Cushing's. Maybe there's a few more, but he's like the most well-known one probably. And so I met with him and he's like, yes, I see a tumor or two on there. And he's like, let me send it to my neurosurgeon that I work with, who is a guy in Texas named Dr. McCutcheon. And Dr. McCutcheon's like, looks like a cyst to me. It's not a tumor. So I was like, cool. But I still thought it was a tumor, but I'm not a doctor, right? So what the plan was at that point was Dr. Friedman said, let's get you on ketoconazole, which is a medication which is an antifungal actually, but it can lower your cortisol. He said, let's get you on ketoconazole and let's try that for a while and we will see if it helps your symptoms. I'm like, okay, cool. But I wasn't satisfied with Dr. McCutcheon, the neurosurgeon's evaluation. So I found my own neurosurgeon up here in Seattle. I live in the Seattle area. And so I found a neurosurgeon up here named Dr. Ferreira with the University of Washington. And I showed him the MRI and I was like, what do you think? What do you think of this? What should we do? He said, well, I'm willing to work with you on this, but I would let's follow what your endocrinologist says right now. Let's, do the ketoconazole for for a while, do the ketoconazole for a while. And then he's like, get back with me once, after you've done that for a while. So I said, okay, cool. So I started ketoconazole fall of 2022. And I found that it helped. It didn't help a ton. I mean, it helped. It didn't help a ton, but I definitely felt better. And I felt a lot of my symptoms getting better, which was great. I lost a little bit of weight. I just wasn't as, stressed, and it didn't help my heart rate. It's so funny with the ketoconazole because I didn't feel like it was helping that much because I still felt like trash. But then when I would go off of it, I felt even worse. So it was really hard for me to tell if it was working or not because I just felt so crappy anyway. But it did help because I noticed when I went off of it. The other thing that was weird is my cortisol cycles, and it cycles. I go through a few weeks of having high cortisol and a few weeks of having high cortisol, low cortisol. But then I also cycle throughout the day, and I cycle in a weird way that no one understands. So most people with Cushing's, their cortisol gets high at night and low in the morning, but I take a medication called Xywav, which is a narcolepsy medication that puts you into a deeper, more restful sleep. So that really regulated my circadian rhythm. So my cortisol would get very high in the morning. And so a lot of doctors were like, well, that's not Cushing's then if it's not high at night. So I had to go to Dr. Friedman and find some research that showed that, yes, this medication I'm on delays cortisol production by 4 hours because I take it at 11 p.m. and 2 a.m. So finally we got past that hurdle because a lot of people just didn't want to believe that was a thing. But I knew. So I was on ketoconazole. I felt like it helped. It was hard to tell how much it helped. And then after a year after my first MRI, I got a second MRI. Same thing. It looked like a tumor or two. We couldn't quite tell. And then I was like, okay, what do we do now? It's the same. Let's do something about this. So Dr. Friedman sent it to Dr. McCutcheon again. And Dr. McCutcheon again said, oh, looks like a cyst. And I was like, I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of people that I've come across in Cushing's Facebook groups who Dr. McCutcheon said it was a cyst, but then they still were able to get successful surgery on their tumor because it actually was a tumor. I don't know. Always get a second opinion. Sometimes a sixth opinion because I think I saw 6 endocrinologists in this whole thing. Oh, that's also what I wanted to tell you. So I started a new job in January of 23, which I'm so grateful for. I love it so much. It's the best job. I don't think any of them are watching this, but shout out to y'all. I love you if you're watching this. So I had really good health insurance. So I said, Dr. Friedman's fine, but I want to see an endocrinologist here in Seattle if I can, because that would be more convenient. And Dr. Friedman's office is a little hard to get a hold of anyone. It is what it is. So I saw an endocrinologist at University of Washington, and I showed him all my information, and he asked all these questions. He went over everything, and he's like, "Oh, you don't have Cushing's." And I'm like, "Okay, cool." Not, "Oh, I don't think this is an issue. Why don't we explore this more and see if it might be something else?" Not anything. Just, "No, you don't have Cushing's." And that was it. So that was frustrating because I have a bunch of evidence. And again, my case is just weird, you know. But I also think my case might not be that weird. It's just the people who have weird cases like me don't get diagnosed and get turned away because it's weird and it's not textbook. I think these endocrine things and these pituitary and adrenal things, they can look so different and it's can be really hard to pinpoint. I get it. But I just wish doctors would help you look more into it rather than just be like, bye. So anyway, so a lot of people who get their MRI read by Dr. McCutcheon, he says it's a cyst, it's not a tumor, whatever. And I know Arnold Schwarzenegger, not a tumor. That's what everyone says. I just need to acknowledge that. So I was like, all right, so I'm going to get my second opinion again. So I went back to Dr. Ferreira at University of Washington, who I had seen the previous year, who said, get back on keto or get on ketoconazole, see how it goes, and check with me once you're at a good check-in point. So I went to him. I was like, hey, what do you think? And he's like, well, I'm willing to consider this, but he's like, I would like to talk to your endocrinologist. I was like, okay, cool. And I'm like, do you want a copy? Do I need to show you my PowerPoint that I made? 10 reasons why I deserve brain surgery. He's like, no, you don't have to show this to me, but you should email this to me. So I actually did make a PowerPoint, 10 reasons I deserve brain surgery. Maybe I'll show it to you also sometimes. I was just so desperate and, I felt so crappy for so long. I'm going to cry now. So it was really hard to get him connected with Dr. Friedman because luckily I had Dr. Ferrera's email address. Usually they want you to go through my chart, but you can't loop in 2 doctors on my chart, especially with Dr. Friedman's in California. So I went around trying to get them to talk to each other, and I realized it wasn't going to happen this way. So I just sent an email to both of them, and I'm like, hey, what do you think? And Dr. Friedman's like, yep, I would recommend Stacy for surgery if that's what you think. And he's like, cool. So I met with him again, and he's my favorite, Dr. Ferreira. I don't know if he's watching this. Anyway, he's great. I feel like he's the only person who's just gave me a chance to take care of this, and my favorite thing that he's ever said, that any doctor has ever said, is he said, even if there's only a 5% chance that this tumor is causing your symptoms, why wouldn't we do this? Why wouldn't we take care of this to at least see if your life can be improved? And that's what I've been thinking the whole time. He said, really, this surgery is not that invasive. It's brain surgery, but really, no, why wouldn't we try this? And so that's amazing. And he was just like, just don't get mad at me if it doesn't work. And I'm like, I don't care. It might not work. I get that. But yeah, let's do it. So yeah, then I got my surgery scheduled. Again, my case is weird. I'm cyclical, episodic, whatever you want to call it. And I'm all over the place. I cycle high and low over weeks and then within the day sometimes, and it's weird. And I know when I'm cycling low because my arm hair falls out, which is weird. So anyway, I know the symptoms, but my case is weird. I also, again, don't think it's that weird. I think a lot of people have it like me. So They just can't get help because no one wants to help. So I got my surgery scheduled for February 5th, which is my cousin's birthday, my best friend's birthday, which was really cool. And then yeah, I before going to surgery, I was like, okay, I will know that this is a good thing and that this is good if I'm going to get a cool room number. So somehow I'm going to have a room number that like it resonates with me. I'm really into numbers and repeating numbers, and I don't take it too seriously, but I love that kind of stuff. Like one of my favorite numbers is 1122. I also like 2018 because my birthday is February 18th, and my son was born in 2018. So like I was very excited that I got to have a baby in 2018. So anyway, so yeah, I think we scheduled the surgery at the end of 2023. It was for February 5th, 2024. I'm trying to think anything around that. I had to get another MRI like the week before. Getting the MRI, it took like 3 hours because I have really bad veins and they couldn't like get into the vein. They couldn't get the contrast into me, and it took like 3 hours of waiting for someone who could get it done. So that was unfortunate. So I went in February 5th, 2024, and they wheeled me into the operating room 13. I was like, yeah, but it was right around the Super Bowl, and Taylor Swift was, Taylor Swift Super Bowl was big at the time. Taylor Swift likes the number 13. I'm like, okay, fine. I can deal with being in Taylor Swift's favorite room number. So they put me out, and I met Dr. Ferrer in person, just right there in the operating room, and he came in and they put me out, and it went by very fast. And then I woke up and I was all groggy, and they're like, there it is. And there's a picture of the tumor on the screen that they had. And they're like, we got it. And, I think they started maybe at around 8 a.m. and started at 8 a.m. They maybe took like 2-3 hours. I don't know exactly, but it felt very quick. Interestingly, I had ankle surgery in 2023. So I broke my ankle March 5th, 2023, which was a huge pain. And then I went in and they're like, oh, it's fine. And then I waited 3 weeks. I went in again and they're like, actually, you need surgery. So I will tell you, brain surgery, way easier than ankle surgery. Ankle surgery was harder and more painful and took longer. So that's an interesting note. So I don't know how much y'all know about pituitary surgery, but they go in through the nose. So really, it's not as invasive as it might sound. So they went in through my nose and they got up there and they got it out. They only found one. It was really gross. It looked like a ball of snot. I saw the picture. I have another picture. I will not show you unless you want to email me. I'll show you. I think I have it on my Instagram with like a trigger warning on like a reel or something. So you can go look at that. So yeah, so then I went to the post-op room, and my post-op nurse was not very nice. So that was unfortunate. I was in so much pain, and she's like, well, I can't give you any meds. You've had too many, which I get, but I'm like, if I'm going to be med seeking like this, I think this is one situation where like I deserve the meds. I just had brain surgery. So anyway, and I was stuck in that room for a very long time. I feel like I was in there till 7 p.m. and I maybe went in there at noon. So you're not, I guess, usually supposed to stay in the post-op room that long, but it is what it is. So they wheel me to the post-op room, and they're like, get me in there, and they're like, Heather? I'm like, no. And they're like, oh, this room was supposed to be for Heather, but you can stay here. We're going to swap out Heather's stuff and put your stuff in there. Like, fine. So I was not even supposed to be in that room that I was in. And then, of course, I'm high because I just had brain surgery and I'm on drugs. And I look up at the wall and there's a sign and it says SE218. And I'm like, huh. So my initials are SE, Stacey Edwards. They were also my previous initials, Stacey Erickson, which was my name before I got married. And then my birthday's February 18th to 18. So I was like, excuse me, is that like a patient number or a room number? And they're like, no, that's the room number. It's Southeast 218. I'm like, are you kidding me? So if I was just in room 218, that would have been one thing. That would have been like a sign. But SE 218 was like, my mind was blown. Like that was a sign that all would be well. And then I started puking up blood. But that was fine. I guess, the blood drains. Yeah, that was a mess. So, puked up blood twice, but I was in SE 218, so it was okay. And then eventually I got into my room, and I think I stayed 2 nights. I think I stayed Monday night and Tuesday night. Did I get to go home Wednesday? I think I went home Wednesday. And it was really not fun. The nurses were great. Everyone was great except for that first post-op nurse, Monica. But I was very congested, right? If they're up there and it's through your nose. It was very congested. I couldn't use CPAP for like 2 weeks afterwards, and it was just miserable, but worth it. So, um, the thing is, a lot of people, when you have pituitary surgery, they want to take out that tumor and then they want to see your cortisol drop right away to like dangerously low, because that's how they know it worked. And mine did drop. I think mine dropped. I think I was usually around 20 with my blood cortisol, and I think it was like dropped to maybe, it dropped a little. Not a lot. It didn't drop a lot. And they waited for it to drop, and I waited for it to drop, and just it wasn't dropping. In the meantime, I was very, 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 very thirsty, like unreasonably thirsty, and they all thought it was diabetes insipidus, and I thought it might be that too. I didn't realize until later when I got home, and I was really thirsty, and I realized my cortisol was getting really low. Extreme thirst is, for me, is a sign of low cortisol. So I thought that was interesting. So in the hospital, I was like chugging water and drinking all this water, but my cortisol hadn't dropped. But I think, to me, if I'm drawing my own conclusions that may or may not be accurate, that says something to me that something was happening. So at one point, the hospital endocrine team came in and they looked like really disappointed. There was like 3 of them. They're like, "We're so sorry. This surgery was unsuccessful." And luckily, I knew that cyclical Cushing's is different from traditional Cushing's, and that things can look different. So luckily, I knew that, because if I didn't know that, I would have lost it. But they're like, "We're sorry, the surgery is unsuccessful because your cortisol hasn't dropped." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'll see you in a year. I will update you in a year." I'm not willing to accept that yet, because no, like, my case is different. I didn't tell them all this. I was just kind of like, "Yeah, cool, bye." Like, I didn't believe them. And thank God I didn't believe them. So yeah, there's like, this was unsuccessful because your cortisol hasn't dropped, because they really want your cortisol to drop. So that was that, and it was like, kind of, it's kind of I mean, it wasn't upsetting for me, but I could see where it would be very upsetting for someone else to get that news after their surgery. So I was like, okay. So I'm very excited in a year, if I'm feeling better, to reconnect with them and tell them how it is. So eventually I went home. I'm trying to think, nothing else that exciting happened in the hospital. And when I got home, I started to get really in my head. And I'm still kind of in my head about it. And I was like, okay, my cortisol hasn't dropped. I don't think this worked. Maybe this didn't work. Like, I know it's different with cyclical, but maybe it didn't work. Oh my God. So I spent about a week really kind of freaking out. And then I scheduled an appointment with Dr. Friedman, who has a lot of cyclical patients. And I was just like, my cortisol hasn't dropped. And he's like, with my cyclical patients, it can take 4 to 6 weeks for the cortisol to drop. And I was like, oh, that's kind of what I thought. Like, that's kind of what I thought. That's what I heard. But I was just freaking out. And he says, and with my patients who have been on ketoconazole, that's even more the case. Like, people on ketoconazole, it doesn't drop as fast. So I was like, okay. So I was supposed to go back to work in 6 weeks. And I was just feeling good. I was feeling pretty good. I was like able to do more. I painted my bedroom. I did all sorts of stuff. I felt kind of guilty being on medical leave. I was still recovering. Once I got past the first like week of like being congested and that went away, like, it was fine. The first couple like week or two, I just couldn't sleep, which was really hard. Partly because I was not on CPAP, and partly just because I was so congested and so many things. So once I got past that, I felt really good. And then at 5.5 weeks, I live on an island. I went to the mainland for a medical appointment, and I was just feeling It was like Saturday, Sunday, Monday. I was just feeling gross and bad, and I was like, oh, like really thirsty, really thirsty. I couldn't figure out why I felt so bad. And then Monday, I think it was Monday or Tuesday, I went to the mainland for an appointment, and I was on the fair. I'm like, this is not good. I don't know what's up. And then I was like, oh, I wonder if my cortisol's dropping. So I got home, and I decided they gave me hydrocortisone, because what happens, your cortisol drops and then you have to replace it with hydrocortisone. So I got home, I'm like, okay, going to take this hydrocortisone and see if I feel a little better. And lo and behold, I felt a ton better after taking the hydrocortisone. So I checked in with my doctor and he's like, yeah, take it when you feel like that. Don't exceed, 20 milligrams a day or something. So I was on hydrocortisone. A lot of people are on hydrocortisone for a while. I found I didn't need it after. Oh, and then also I had to extend my leave at work because I was like, oh, great. Of course, now, right the week before I'm supposed to go back, my cortisol dropped and I have to figure out how to manage that. But I did. I took an extra 2 weeks and then it was fine. So that was April 1st. So yeah, I guess was that April 1st I went back to work. So that was like the end of May that I started taking hydrocortisone. I feel like I only needed it for a month and then I haven't needed it in a couple weeks. So that kind of worries me because I'm like, what if it's coming every day? I'm like, I'm positive, I've got this, and then I'm like, but what if it's coming back? And that's the thing is, I can't know, right? I can't know. And so I just have to go with it. I'm feeling really, really, really good lately, though. I've been able to do so much. I'm doing so much yard work, and my yard is like 4 years of neglect because that's when I moved in. I've been so sick. I've been riding my bike. I've been just everything I've ever wanted to do, I've been able to do now. And it's so amazing. Like truly, it's just crazy. It's so wonderful. Like the other day, my son has his birthday last week, and I got this adult trike, and I put a little motor on it so I can like go up hills easier. I put him on the trike, and we hiked down to the beach by my house, and we used his metal detector that he got for his birthday, and then it was sunny, and we rode home on my trike. I'm like, this is the life I've always wanted. I don't need anything fancy. This is what I want my life to be, and now I have it, and it's amazing. Also about it's been a year ago I separated from my husband, and we get along fine now that we don't live together. We're great co-parents, but just everything I wanted in my life, just to not be in a marriage that wasn't working for me, and to have a kid. I always wanted a kid, and now I have a kid, and I have this beautiful home, and I have this beautiful yard, and I have this great job. It's like everything has come together, and it's just absolutely amazing. I will tell you, it's hard to have this hanging over my head that this could come back at any time. So what I've found since surgery is I'm still cycling. So my cortisol will cycle high and low and high and low, but the highs are not as high as they were before, and the lows. So the highs get lower and the lows get higher. So, and that's kind of how I was able to get off the hydrocortisone. Is I was still feeling lows, but they weren't as low. It wasn't like dangerously low. So I don't know if I'm just gonna kind of like, if it's I still have it and I'm gonna have to get another surgery or whatever, or if I'm just kind of cycling into normalcy. It definitely feels like every high and low I'm getting closer to the middle. I'm definitely feeling a little like high cortisol right now because I'm like sweatier than usual, rounder than usual, but I don't know. I really do not know what the future holds. I do not know if maybe it worked or it didn't work. Something worked for a while because I feel great. Like really, I feel amazing, and I feel like I can pretty much live a normal life. Yeah, I think at this point I'm just waiting. I'm gonna wait about a year. I mean, obviously I'll do my doctor's follow up, but I'm just gonna see what happens and see maybe it comes back and I get sicker. Maybe I'm fine. I have no idea at this point. I really don't like to entertain the idea that it's coming back. That's why I try to make excuses, like when I feel like my cortisol's a little high. And right now, when I say my cortisol's a little high, it's not like I don't feel sick or bad. It's just I notice like my hair gets frizzier when my cortisol's a little higher. That's the first thing I noticed when I got back from the hospital. Like my hair's so soft and nice. I remember when my hair was like this. So I really, when I'm in a high, I feel my hair texture changes. It gets a little like less manageable. My skin isn't as nice. Let me tell you, that's been really nice when my cortisol feels normal. Like, I have such nice skin. Oh my God. I used to have such nice skin before I got sick, and then it was just bleh. And it's coming back. It's not as nice right now as I would like, and my hair isn't either. But that's kind of how I know, like, where I am in my cycle is hair, skin, joint pain when I'm really low. Um, yeah, it's really weird. I don't know. I really don't know what's coming. But I just know that, like, thank God I got a chance, right? Like, even just to have this chance and to give it a try, even if it didn't work, even to have these couple months of normalcy, it's just like I wouldn't trade it for anything. Like, I would have brain surgery 3 times over, maybe not more than 3 times, no. I don't know, to be able to at least have a shot at feeling better. And just my life is so good right now. It's everything I've wanted. And like, really, it's amazing. I can't. And the other fun thing is, surgery is February 5th, and on February 18th, I turned 40. So it's just very much like, okay, you're 40. Here's your new life. It's really great. Have fun. So I've had a really great couple months. So it's February 5th and it's May 5th, February. So it's been 3 months. The thing I haven't noticed is I have not lost any weight, which sucks. But I'm really having to change my eating habits, because before I was like not hungry at all. So I would just have like meal replacement shakes all day. And now I have my appetite back, but then I still want meal replacement shakes. So I am embarking on, and again, I'm really body positive. So if you are triggered by diet and food talk, which is totally understandable, I'm going to talk about that for about a minute. I'm going on something called the slow carb diet, that one of my friends is on, and I'm kind of doing it with him. I want to see if I can lose weight. I want to be, I want to be back where I was before I got super sick, which is about 55 pounds ago. If that doesn't happen, that's okay too. I figured I'd give it a year trying on my own, and then I'm going to call the doctor for some Ozempic, which, no shame in that. I just want to kind of see how my body does on its own first. So, and with me actually working on it, because I haven't been working on it, because I've been recovering from brain surgery. So, that's that. I'm trying to think what else. Please let me know if you have any questions. Again, like, I don't know what's coming, right? I don't know what the future holds, but I'm really glad I got a shot, and I'm just trying to stay positive. And yeah, things are amazing. So anyway, leave a comment if you would like. Email me, cpapbabes@gmail.com, with any questions. I think I owe one of you an email still, so sorry about that. Um, I'm thinking if I would have advice for anyone who's seeking this, and here's my advice. It's okay to take breaks. Sometimes you go through all this stuff and you just feel defeated and you want to die. I mean, I don't want to talk about those times, but it happened a couple times. And sometimes you might have to take a break. Sometimes you might have to be like, okay, this is too frustrating and I'm not getting anywhere and I need to take a break. And that's okay. Really, just the name of the game is perseverance. Also, like, Google everything. Like, I know that's, doctors hate that. They hate it. But if I didn't Google everything, I wouldn't be where I was, right? Like, I did do a blog post on cpapbabes.com. It's called So You Want to Pursue a Cushing's Diagnosis. Check that out. I have a hard time with publishing it because I feel like it really doesn't offer a clear solution, because sometimes there is no clear solution. Like, if you can't get anything from the doctors, you're kind of stuck. But I would say, if you do have an MRI, I'm just talking pituitary. I don't know as much about the adrenal stuff. If you do have an MRI showing a tumor, and you're having a hard time getting surgery, I found just seeking out a neurosurgeon was helpful, because he's really the one who made the final decision. Like, only he can decide if he's the one who's like, yes, we'll do surgery. And I kept being really scared that they were going to be like, nope, sorry. And I talked to him, and also, so Dr. Ferrer is at University of Washington, which is where that other endocrinologist I saw, who was like, nope, you don't have Cushing's, was. And so they kept being like, can you work with one of our endocrinologists here? I'm like, your endocrinologists do not believe me, so no. And so they're like, well, you need an endocrinologist here, for your care post-op. I'm like, well, why would I see an endocrinologist who doesn't believe I have the thing that I'm having surgery for? So I told Dr. Fur, I'm like, I'm really scared if this guy gets involved that I'm not going to be able to have this surgery. And he's like, well, I'm the final say, so he can't do that. So that was good. There is no good advice for this, because it just sucks. It's just, I tell people over and over, this has been as much of a psychological battle as it has been a physical battle. Like, it's the hardest thing I've ever done, ever. And I've done some pretty hard things. Yeah, I keep saying, like, where's my master's in healthcare advocacy? Because I've spent so much time and energy on this and it's paid off. But I mean, no one should have to go through this to get basic medical care. It's ridiculous. Like, and I have a lot of privilege that helped me get here, right? Like, I don't have a lot of money, but I have enough money. I have a good job now. I had a partner for most of it who could help me, financially we helped each other and, just whatever. Um, I'm white. They don't take people of color as seriously in the medical system, and that's like proven through research. Yeah, I mean, there's so much privilege that I had that helped me get here. Yes, I worked hard, but obviously before that I have layers of privilege that have helped me, and not everyone has that, and that makes it even harder and more frustrating. And everyone should be able to get the help that they need and to get brain surgery if they want it, and if it's appropriate, of course. So anyway, this is what I got for today. I'm sorry it took me so long to do an update. Okay, I'm just going to keep going. So, because I have this in the background, do you see my thing in the background? These are like, that's a piece of scrapbook paper with Polaroids on it. So, I was thinking before I had surgery, I'm like, if the surgery works, I want to get a tattoo. What kind of tattoo am I going to get? And the first MRI I had, I was like on the ferry and I got the results, and it said, "Oh, this MRI shows a potential pituitary tumor." I was like, "Yes, I told you." So I started playing the Lily Allen song that's like, fuck you very, very much. And so I was like, that was my thing to all the people who doubted me. And so when I was thinking about what tattoo I might get to, you know, commemorate this experience, I was like, I'm going to watch the Lily Allen video for that song, and then I'm going to see. I'm like, there has to be some sort of symbolism that pops up in there, here and there, that that maybe I can take. And this Polaroid picture kept showing up, like, if you watch the video. So I was like, I should get a Polaroid frame tattoo right here. And there's actually some really cool ones with flowers. So I thought that might be fun to get a little nod to her and that song and the whole process. So anyway, thank you for watching. Let me know if you have any questions. I hope I can help some people. I'm sorry this is so vague. There's not really a clear path, and that's very difficult. So you want to say bye, Momo? Meow. Momo says bye. Bye. Bye, everyone. Thank you.